Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at in the country. My name's Melissa Sheehan. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Accelerant, and I'm really happy to be here today with my colleague, Addie Earls. She's our Sales Director. Addie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today, and certainly super excited to be talking about how to crush Q4 that's coming up before we know it. I actually come from a media company background as well too, so I've had the experience of experiencing Q4 both at AdCellerant and at a media company for many years. So excited to kind of showcase some of my findings and learnings over the years as well today.
And I, have been with Accelerant for over 3 years now. I come from the media company side originally, as well as some digital agency experience. So we're excited to talk about this topic. We know we're sitting here on August 20th, but now is the time for us to talk about how we are going to set ourselves up for success for the back quarter of the year. So we're going to touch on a few things today. In the midst of a pandemic, we have to address this new customer and what they care about. We're going to talk with you, media company leaders, about prospecting ideas, things that we're seeing across our, 250 plus partners, good things that they're doing, and things that can set you up for success, digital products that are working well and generating results during the pandemic. We'll have a Q&A at the end, but don't wait. If you'd like to put your question in the Q&A box, we will get to it at the end, but make sure if it doesn't lose your train of thought, if you'd like to put that in that box. Accelerant is a technology and digital advertising company. For those of you that may not work with us today, we're really focused on quality digital marketing and making that accessible to every business. We really feel like the small and medium-sized business market that you as media companies work with every day is very underserved by digital advertising. And so it's our mission to make sure that we provide the best solutions possible and the best support possible in order to bring that to every business. We're proud to say we're an award-winning technology company. We were recently honored with the third consecutive Inc. Top 5,000 recognition, so we're very proud of that. We also have been growing our proprietary software and are relaunching some of that software later this year. And we have a partner network of over 300 local media partners and ad agencies. The 90-person team that we have here today was the same 90-person team that we had at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're all working really hard to make sure that we are doing our best to serve our partners and their advertisers. And that service includes the technology I mentioned, the professional services and sales enablement, and the advanced advertising. We have campaign managers that are executing in-house programmatic display, video, everything from local search, native, and geofencing campaigns. So enough about us. Let's get started and talk a little bit about holiday trends. I know nobody wants to see holly right now in the middle of August, but it's coming. And despite the pandemic, the year is really flying by fast. So let's talk about some forecasts. What we're hearing today is that more than 50% of shoppers plan to buy early this holiday season. It makes a lot of sense. We know that supply chains have been disrupted, that we have to do some planning. And a lot of the sentiment is coming from just wanting something to look forward to. 66% of shoppers, and this is the great news, are going to shop more at local businesses. This was according to a survey Google did in June. And 47% said they'll use options like buy online, pick up in store, or curbside in order to get those purchases. And a third of shoppers, this is really important, a third of shoppers indicated they would even pay more for local products. And what this means is that we know that the community is really wanting to support local business. But 76% do intend to purchase more than half of their gifts online. So there could be a gap there for some of our local businesses that we may want to address with them sooner rather than later. So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about how do we guide the businesses that we work with to talk to this new customer, because every one of us and as consumers and every one of the other consumers out there have gone through a transformative change throughout this pandemic. And we're seeing really 5 themes that are coming out. We'll talk about each of these themes here in a second. The first one is really a shift to value. As we're settling into this new normal and more areas reopen, we are seeing a big shift to value. We are also seeing digital and omni-channel. We've seen a shock to customer loyalty, a health and caring economy that didn't exist as much before, and a homebody economy. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. This shift to value really makes a lot of sense. People are, seeing what's going on with the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, and 40% of those are being just more mindful about where they spend their money. A third of them are changing to less expensive products in order to make sure that they're saving money, and they're researching brand and product choices before they're buying. And this has an opportunity for local businesses to really find what it is that's valuable to their consumer and offer that. It doesn't always have to be a discount. It could be something that's really valuable to connecting with those customers today. And so with that in mind, I think it's really important that as marketers, we have those conversations with our businesses about, how they're providing value to their customer, whether it's through a sale or, through something extra, or just providing more information to them during this time. The other big theme that we're seeing is a flight to digital. This makes a lot of sense with so many people staying at home and having to be connected over, webinars like this. Most business categories have seen a 10% growth in their online customer base during this pandemic. Many customers say that they continue to plan to continue shopping online even as brick and mortar stores reopen. And 66% that they are going to increase purchases during the online purchases during the 2020 holiday season. Shocking to think this pandemic, we knew that e-commerce was on the rise, but this pandemic, experts are saying, has actually accelerated e-commerce by 4 to 6 years. This is a huge opportunity and a gap that some of our small and medium-sized businesses need to adapt to now in order to really capitalize on the upcoming holiday season. We know that online spending was up. In May, it was 77%. And we are seeing this mirrored in ad spend. Well, overall ad spend is expected to decline. Digital ad spend will grow 13% the back half of 2020 versus the same period a year earlier. And what that means is that there's a great opportunity for you to combine your local media with extended audience online resources in order to round out your full portfolio and capture that share of wallet for the businesses that you work with. The other thing that we're really seeing is a shock to loyalty. When everybody kind of went into quarantine, we all know that there was a slightly funny shortage of things like toilet paper and other goods and services, but it didn't just stop there. There were all kinds of different shortages with supply chain disruptions. And so what happened was 75% of US shoppers tried a new retailer or a new brand. And those drivers included things like value, availability, convenience. But the interesting thing is that nearly 80% of those intend to continue that adopted behavior. It may have taken a pandemic to get people out of their rut of doing the same thing or buying the same thing, but it has changed their behavior. And that, I think, is the big theme here, is making sure that as a trusted resource, you're talking to the businesses that you work with about this changed customer, because they may not be able to count on or expect all the customers that did business with them 6 months ago or a year ago are going to come back without knowing more about what they're doing in store to keep people safe, about what they have available, about how their hours have changed, their service may have changed. And this kind of leads to that final point The new health and caring economy, and then this homebody economy that we'll talk about in a minute. A lot of people, and this wasn't the case a year ago, have really started about caring about how healthy and hygienic these companies are, how they treat their employees. We looked at some research from a survey in June about asking consumers whether they would buy more from companies. 63% say that they are more likely to buy or purchase from a retailer that they know is following COVID-19 safety precautions. But how are they going to know that before they come to that door, before they, make that scarce trip out of their house in some cases? That's the really important thing that we need to be talking about with businesses, is if we know that 2/3 of shoppers really care about this, how are they getting the word out about it? 1/4 of them are going to buy more based on how companies are taking care of their employees. Same kind of thing. Are they taking precautions for the people that work for them? And 60% of consumers plan to shop less in store due to a fear of COVID-19. We've got a combination of sources for all of this information, but this really leads to, how do you talk to your new consumer about, what's going on, what you're doing differently? I talked to a buddy of mine the other day. His wife's been seeing a chiropractor for years, 15 years. And she was waiting, didn't want to go get an adjustment, but finally said, you know what, it's been long enough. And so she went to her normal place, and she was really shocked and disappointed because no one was wearing a mask. They weren't taking safety precautions. And guess what she did when she got home? She started looking for a new provider, for somebody that she's known for a really long time. So that just illustrates how much this has really changed consumer behavior, and these businesses have an opportunity to really communicate that, to capitalize on that. In some cases, if you're able to, reach your competitors' customers and talk to them about what you're doing differently these days. And we're going to talk about this final point, the homebody economy. In most countries, more than 70% say they're not yet comfortable resuming to normal activities. Now, normal means a lot of things to a lot of people. Normal to me is going out to, soccer games on the weekends with my kids. Normal to other people is going out to, shows or a bar or, hanging out with large groups. And so, really addressing those different groups is very important. We know that people are intending to shop online more regularly post-pandemic. We're actually seeing this trend even over the age of 56, which is, generally that older population. And actually, 43%, as much as, we may complain about seeing the four walls of our house every day, 43% of full-time American employees say that they actually want to work remotely even more often as the economy reopens. And so we've got these customers who are not as mobile, and these businesses who are recovering and going into their busiest season of the year. And the responsibility that we have as marketers is really to help them connect those dots, help them figure out, how do you get your message into that homebody? How do you get your message in front of people who care about COVID precautions and who have had a shock to loyalty and may not be as willing to do business, or may have been allured by a different business during the pandemic? And what we know is that digital is going to play a huge part of that, and that the value proposition that these businesses put in front of customers is going to be a key center point moving forward. So kind of laying the groundwork of who this new customer is and this new economy, we're going to talk next about how you as a media company, you and your staff can really build your pipeline and prepare for what is also your busiest time of year. Addie's going to walk us through that.
Thanks, Melissa. I think the consumer sentiments definitely gave us background to go into building your pipeline. As a media company, how do you set yourself up for success in the fourth quarter? I mean, I know it's August, but it's time to start thinking about the fourth quarter. And now more than ever, it's critical that sales leaders really establish a strategy and KPIs for short-term and long-term success. Sales metrics really need to be measurable and projectable. Kind of the basic demographic data points really, that you would use to hone and engage prospective advertisers in a good economy weren't really working anymore, and never mind the current climate. So your sales teams need to understand and have a better understanding of what this new market looks like to really cut through the noise. So, we really recommend that you focus your team on industries that have demonstrated growth during this pandemic. And we're going to go through some of that a bit later in this webinar. And conversely, we think it's really important that you use that same approach to eliminate accounts or prospects that were normally in your sites and currently aren't in the position to advertise, say events. Once you've narrowed down the verticals and the industries that you want to focus on, you can really then work on formulating a playbook of, possible offerings that you can show them, your value propositions, and, what you can bring to the table for them during this time of life that we're in. I think using different kinds of buying signals and any kind of machine learnings or tools that you have to know when advertisers are looking for your products or services, just like Melissa was talking about, we know people are going to be buying local this coming holiday season, and they're going to be buying earlier. So use that information to, come up with a game plan for your advertisers. We also recommend that, you reconsider your strategy as a media company to offer more content for free so you can really seed the market for short and long-term growth. Use digital techniques like retargeting, local news extension, put a pixel on your website and offer, to extend that audience beyond your locally owned and operated sites. And, white papers, those are a great way to get people engaged. Shift more focus to upselling and cross-selling opportunities with your existing customer base. They already know you, they like you, and they do business with you. So use that brand affinity to your advantage. And lastly, work with your product and finance teams to really create, some discounted offers. You don't have to always discount things, but anything that you can do to generate business and make it more appealing to people right now is very, very important. So, the silver lining to everyone being at home is that it's actually easier to connect now with people than it ever was before. Think about it. People are using their cell phones for business. And if your sales teams have access to those numbers, they don't have to deal with voicemails that were never checked or gatekeepers that won't pass along their message. They're getting through. I think the chief revenue officer at Zoom, which we're on right now, estimated that we saw a 20% increase in connection rates the first week that we went into quarantine at home. So what can you do with your team to make sure that they're making those connections? Make sure they have access to mobile numbers. Take a look at your contacts and upgrade your data to include mobile numbers if you don't have those already. You might think about creating a call script that really takes into account the current environment. Doing a cold call now is a little bit different than it was 6 months ago. Put people at ease, and they're much more likely to continue that conversation. Perhaps get a tool that helps the teams manage their prospects and their time. Your team needs to have boundaries respected between home and work life, and so do your prospects. So something like a Salesforce is really, really effective during this point in time. Kind of an interesting point, I said before that I worked for a media company. I was actually a partner of AdCellerants before I came to AdCellerant. And one of the teams that I managed very closely was completely remote. And we spanned all the time zones. And the two things that I always said that were the most important things to, keep up the productivity of a remote team was hiring the right talent and then over communicating. Heck, you might find people that are better employees now that you've taken away elements that might distract or hold them back. Things like commutes, interactions at the office that maybe went on too long, and they might have a better home life balance now, making them a better employee. And then also utilizing marketing. I mean, it's very important for, Adjusting resources to double down on campaigns that bring in qualified opportunities is an obvious move. So, staying connected, I have it, work smart and harder together. So staying connected in a remote world. We can't recommend this enough. Continue to establish a new normal to encourage productivity. People thrive when they have established routines. But with all the variables that are present in a work from home environment, how can you carry on your in-office culture? So I read a study from the Harvard Business Review, and the work from home burnout is very real. And you need to create an environment that gives your employees the tools to combat and overcome that. Employees, employees that suffer from burnout are not working strategically or methodically, and they're certainly not going to help your team hit their goals. So one thing we recommend is determine your team's working hours. When you commute from one room in your house to the other, definitely the lines between work time and personal time can get very blurred. Work with your team leaders to establish a start time and an end day time to each day, and encourage your employees to respect that. Encourage collaboration and agility with regular team meetings. It's so easy now with technologies like Zoom, WebEx, Slack, and Messenger to stay in touch with employees during the day. From daily meetings to just quick questions, it's important that your team doesn't feel isolated or out of the loop. And then keep carrying on your in-office traditions. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you can't have your virtual bang the gong or wear, a crazy suit jacket on the last day of the quarter or whatever you might do. Use your video and conferencing and Slack channels to, share different things and keep people connected. It's very important in this world. And then, this is very, very important. And if we can take anything out of this presentation, I think this is one of the most important slides here. We need to stop feeling guilty about prospecting and campaigning. Yes, this is a strange time, and there's a lot of bad things going on in the world today. Jobs and companies are folding, and it's awful. But we need to stop apologizing or feeling awkward about pitching our products and services to companies that need what we have to offer. Obviously, we have to be sensitive and aware that not everyone we approach is going to, sign an agreement with us right now. But we can't lose sight of the fact that it's our job to reach out to companies who could use our products and services, either right now during the pandemic or for long term. We need to overcome those immediate knee-jerk reactions to a cold call or to an email so that we get the opportunity to demonstrate the value that our companies can provide. I'd like to argue that local businesses need us now more than ever. Media companies can help those small to medium-sized businesses stay afloat and grow their core offerings, supplemented by some of the best-in-class digital targeting options we have. We really have a responsibility, and now is really the time to act. So how can we do that? One of the ways that we can do that, to reach more prospects is using your platform or other technology resources to gain feedback from your advertisers, your customers, and the community. Ways in which you could do this could be implementing a chat widget. These are much simpler than you might think. And if you have a lead page or an advertising information page, this widget will definitely increase the likelihood that someone will want to connect with you and do business with you. Another idea would be to conduct surveys, invite feedback from the local business community after a virtual event or in partnership with a local business organization. Information is power. Another way to engage your community, and you might have heard us talk about this before, is to host an educational webinar. The time of doing in-person seminars will return, but for now, digital is where we need to be. Digital consumption and online sales are growing at a faster clip than expected, obviously due to the pandemic. Do your prospects know that? Do they know that online sales are up 52% since the pandemic started, and more than 204 million people 14 plus will make online purchases this year? Business owners are thirsty for information about how their business can be using digital advertisers to get in front of customers who may not be shopping in store as much or in the near future. So, we have some partners that have really done some wonderful things with some of these educational webinars. We actually have a partner that recovered to their pre-pandemic revenue in just 2 months. And, a lot of this had to do with some of these educational webinars that they did. And, this particular partner did a series of 7 different educational webinars that highlighted different digital products that they could use during the pandemic to help these businesses grow out of it. And as you can see, the results on this page were just astounding. There's incremental sales of over $136,000, 6 new deals in July and 8 in August so far. The average deal size wasn't too shabby either. It was over $8,000 a month. And, they also generated sales, 3 to 5 new appointments. So this partner is actually going to have their highest ever digital month in July, and is looking to, really increase that here in August as well. So we've seen a lot of success with partners that have really embraced, these webinars, giving the business communities tips and tricks on how they can grow their businesses in the midst of a pandemic.
And I just wanted to jump in and add, one of the reasons that they really wanted to do this is because they wanted to make sure that they were keeping that pipeline flowing for their sales reps. And, it may seem a little bit small to have 3 to 5 new appointments for each webinar, but, those conversations turned into really solid leads. And they started to, connect with even advertisers that already did business with them. At a deeper level, they finally came around to saying, okay, you're right, this digital thing's not going away. And they started to get more sales even from current customers. And it's been just a tremendous revenue builder and a tremendous morale builder for their whole staff to be involved in something like this, connect with the community, and really help each other build that pipeline back up.
Absolutely. Just another, story of some partner growth amid a pandemic. I think we like to show these because we want to show that there's growth out there, and there's opportunity to, fill your pipeline and to continue to grow. And, this was a quote from a partner. Our business has historically been successful because when our clients grow, we grow. And, we've fit into that equation. So what they did is, they increased their focus on training, and their account manager helped them run several trainings with their team. And also the RFP process that has been, they've been turning more customer needs analysis into proposals, which we know generates revenue. And then having brainstorming and strategy calls for potential clients. This has led to closing new sales and, increasing existing campaigns. We're happy here at AdSeller to hop onto client calls and help close business. And we're always white labeled when we do that if you want us to be. So as you can see down at the bottom, there's a lot of great growth that you can see from this partner through the pandemic as well. So now we're going to move into, some of the, we touched earlier on, focusing in on industries that are thriving during the pandemic. And Melissa's going to walk you through a few that we've seen a lot of success with here at AdSeller.
Thanks, Addie. One of the things that we started tracking right away was, who's advertising? Where are we getting orders from? Where are we seeing successful case studies? We have the benefit of being able to look across thousands of monthly campaigns in order to pick out data that can help you and your advertisers put their hard-earned dollars in the right place. So these are some of the industries that we know have continued to advertise. We've seen healthcare, of course. Education has been huge. Everything from, local schools, tutoring centers for at-home learning, to community colleges and 4-year universities. Home services is exploding. More people are in their home or have been in their home in the last several months. And so they're looking for ways to invest in their nest and, make it a better place to be for their entire family. We've seen retail beginning to rebound. Cannabis, for those of you that have that opportunity in your market. And we've actually seen some really promising things in tourism and real estate. We've also seen a lot of partners doing some internal promotions, not just for things like those webinars, but to reach out to their community and really make sure that they are considered the local resource for news and information during this time. So this shows you a little bit about how we've been tracking this. We've been looking at insertion orders by industry since April. And so you can see that there have been, some ups and downs among some of these industries. By June, education shot way up. These are the clusters where you see, these big spikes. These clusters are pretty healthy. Education, healthcare, home services, those have all been pretty healthy during the pandemic, but definitely seen some spikes. We're beginning to see political come into play. Real estate is growing, even amid the pandemic. And we're starting to see retail come back. Even in May, it started coming back really strong. Tourism is probably the biggest leap. It almost was non-existent in April and May, but we have started to see some huge progress with some great tactics by some of these destinations that are offering, buy now, use this package up to 2 years from now, or, giving more information about what their locations are doing to keep all of their visitors safe. So we'll talk a little bit about some of these success stories. What are they doing in order to drive these results? This specific retailer really wanted to increase foot traffic to their stores. And so they began really as this was back in January and February, looking at visitors and targeting folks from competitive locations and then tracking how they came back. And the foot traffic was enormous. The campaign generated over $150,000 in revenue, which was 20 times their spend.
Home services is another area that we touched on that we've seen a lot of growth that's been super strong during the pandemic. And, this particular client, their goal was to increase website form fills for free installation estimates. And so what we recommended was really to focus on more of a bottom of the funnel strategy because they wanted form fills, and that's a very specific action. So we wanted to target customers who were actively searching online for a home services solution. So through the results of this campaign, we generated 46 conversions over the 4-week campaign run via form fills and phone calls that derived from ad and landing page views. So great conversions that we found just, within 4 weeks.
And this campaign that is still running started in May for this automotive client. They wanted to drive more service clients to the dealership. They knew that a lot of people would be taking road trips for summer vacations. They really focused on that aspect. And of course, they wanted to drive sales. So we used a combination of tactics, display to target vehicle owners of specific makes and models that match that dealership, or who were in market for makes and models that match that dealership or their competitors. We also use device ID. They actually use device ID by zip code. They just hit all of the mobile devices and all the devices that we could find within their service area with sales and service ads. They gave us their CRM data for auto service and sales, and we were able to match back 110 service sales to the campaign and 22 sold vehicles matched to devices who saw those ads. So huge results in order to really reach those folks who are, in the market to do business with customers today, because they're still out there. They're still out there doing business. And it's just a matter of making sure that the local businesses you work with get in front of them. We're going to talk next a little bit more about some of these digital tools.
We've talked about how your media company can build a pipeline and find advertisers in industries that are striving or surviving or thriving. So now we're going to dive in to guide you and your prospective advertisers to really frame their strategies over the next few months and how they're going to find their customers, which are critical for their success and in turn your success. So we're potential customers. Customers still want to hear from brands today. According to eMarketer, just found this yesterday, 77% of consumers said they wanted advertising to talk about how the brand is helpful in this everyday new life. How can they do business with you in this new life and this new normal that we're in? How will your brand help them? How will your product help them? Customers are still out there. They're not as mobile as they were last summer, but still we're getting more normal. I think every week that passes, things get a little bit more normal. But their behaviors are still different. They're adopting and intensifying new behaviors, especially digital ones. People are spending a lot more time online, and they're buying a lot more online. This new normal has really kind of started to emerge. It's also shown that this is going to be a long-term behavioral changes. They're going to last beyond COVID. It's going to last beyond when a vaccine comes out. These are changes that are going to last for a long time. So, consumers are still really waiting, for some critical milestones to, go back to what they consider normal before. And if, customers have to adapt to that. If your customers aren't advertising out there and getting their messages out, their competitors are doing it. So definitely want to stay in front of them. So act now. With early shopping on the horizon, the time to act and to crush Q4 is right now. I know it's August. It seems really early, but, things are happening right now, and we have to get ahead of fourth quarter before we get into it and it takes over us. So conversations, what are some of the things you have to have conversations about with your clients? You have to have conversations about e-commerce, and they must happen quickly. People are pivoting to doing business online, and your clients must be able to do that and offer that solution. Things they should also be doing is targeting current, past, or competitors' customers through device ID immediately. They need to be able to be found. Local SEO is really the gateway to being found in person or online. And how you can help with that is implementing a chat widget. So they can talk and ask questions online without having to pick up the phone, without having to submit a form. And it just allows businesses to communicate more quickly.
Thanks, Daddy. And while we talk about these four areas or tools that businesses should be using today, we also understand that a custom solution may be needed for every business. So we're going to dive into these, but please know if you have a solution that you don't see here, that we're happy to talk about that as well. This digital idea of digital storefront, we've been talking about this a lot lately. And, really this conversation needs to center not just around this is an added expense or this is an advertising expense. This is something that you need to consider as a business owner as a capital expense. If you're going to pay for real estate, if you're going to pay for a sign outside of your physical location, you need to make sure that you put just as much value into that digital one today. Because in some cases, it may be the only way that customers can interact with you as a business. And if those businesses aren't opening themselves up to capture their full market potential, then that would be, then that will hinder their ability to grow. So have this conversation and, be able to have it with a lot of confidence that we know that digital storefront is going to be more important than ever. I mean, we've seen the trends of, e-commerce. We know that a lot of people are shifting more of their shopping online. We've seen several stats on that. But also just think of the convenience of it. If I'm sitting at home and my kids are complaining they haven't had ice cream in a while, and I'm looking up local shops, and let's say that one has the ability to order online and one doesn't. Which one do you think I'm going to choose? The one that makes it easiest to do business with them today. And this e-commerce and installing e-commerce on a business website, whether it's a service company or a retail company, it's still a great way to book appointments, to get a quote, to request more information. And we see a ton of success. It's a great way to do business and really know immediately how big of an impact that you're having. This is a success story from, a children's retailer that we've worked with. They have seen huge amounts of growth and great growth in not just their revenue, but in their conversion rate. They've increased and gotten new users, and they've decreased things like their cost per transaction. So those are all areas that we can help you with if you're not familiar with that e-commerce space, but you need to be talking about with your advertisers so that they have a plan coming into this busy time of year.
Absolutely, Melissa. Good points. So device ID targeting, this is another area that is, we really think is going to be crucial for your clients as they grow, move out of this pandemic and try to, regain some market share. A lot of you probably know what device ID targeting is, but with device ID targeting, it's not just any kind of geofencing. What we do is we create custom shapes around different locations of your choosing. That can be your own location, competitors' locations, or any other place where your target audience might be at. And we can target users who have been in those specific places within a timeline you define in the last 3 months, 6 months. You really define the historic, window of time that you want to target those people. And we target them now wherever they might be. So just because they might not be gathering at an event right now or at a concert doesn't mean that, 6 months ago they weren't doing that. And we can still get that person who is at that location at that time. And there's a few different reasons why utilizing device ID in a pandemic is extremely important. So one way you can do this, one reason is you can attract, you can target your current customers. You can advertise to anyone who has been in your business location in the last year. I'd like to point out that, we say 6 months, we can actually go back a full year now. So that gives you a much longer period of time that we can extrapolate devices from, as, the pandemic goes on a little bit longer. 12 months gives us a lot of time to pull from. With current customers, you can tell them how to do business with you today, including if you have new hours, if you offer e-commerce, if you have delivery or curbside pickup, whatever it is you're doing today, market to your current customers. You can also earn market share. Target customers who have visited your competitor's location. As we said earlier, more than 40% of customers are mindful with their money now. So advertise a special offer to entice them to spend with you. Another option would be to appeal to your neighborhood. You can reach the mobile devices and then every device in the household in your local market with just zip code targeting. You don't have to pick specific buildings or addresses. We can just blanket an entire zip code and extrapolate those devices. Prime locations. Can your target market be found at grocery stores? Can they be found at, health spas or yoga studios? Select all the locations that you want and look back up to a year to serve ads to those visitors today. And then precautions. Don't forget to advertise what precautions you are taking to keep your customers and your employees safe. People want to hear about this. As Melissa said in her example earlier, her friend's chiropractor did not wear masks, was not implementing safety procedures, so she promptly went to a new one. It's important to really showcase that. And then foot traffic attribution. I know you guys might be thinking, well, no one's going very many places right now, but foot traffic is actually back in a lot of areas. But don't forget, even if it's somewhere that you don't, have a lot of foot traffic yet, for any business that collects a home address at the point of service or sale, we can match back to the campaign and show whether or not someone was served their ad. There's also a lot of businesses we are seeing a lot of foot traffic at that we could use to either, gather the devices from or, even do a foot traffic attribution report on is, think quick service restaurants. People are going through drive-thrus more than ever right now. I don't know if you've driven by a Chick-fil-A recently, but I think the one around where I live, it circles about 5 times around the building. Banking drive-thrus, pharmacies, kind of a little morbid, but COVID testing centers. That's where a lot of people gather. Big retail stores, outdoor shopping centers, people are flocking to, rest stops, gas stations. Case study is one local auto dealer saw more than 75 customers served by their device ID campaign in the first 45 days it was running. So the ROI is there. It's a great product to use for this.
Yeah, thanks, Addie. One of the things is, we're doing today is working with our data team to go back that full year and look at those retail locations, those high traffic locations today so that we can capture Q4 traffic. We're going to be coming out soon with packages where you can reach everyone who was shopping in your community a year ago during this coming fourth quarter. get them advertising early, get them advertising soon, and you can pick by what types of businesses they were visiting, whether it be jewelry stores or boutiques, in order to find those customers that were out and about a year ago and serve ads to them today for all of those local businesses. We're going to talk about, two more tools that we think are just really critical. We've talked about the chat widget, both as a media company being able to use this chat widget to generate your own leads. And we do have media partners that are using it and getting, 3 to 10 leads a week in order to, drive their own business, but also for your advertisers. We know that this homebody economy that we talked about are these people who are online more than ever, working from home. Chat is a great way for them to be able to find out quick information. What are your hours? Are you open on Sundays? All of those types of things. And we know that it drives results. This particular service that we offer has an 80 to 95% chat completion rate versus 35% for live chat. And there's a lot of different chat widgets out there. So, contact us to talk a little bit about some of the differentiators and what might be a great fit for your business community. And we can't emphasize enough how important it is to make sure that your local SEO as a business is really up to date. And these are some areas you can really help businesses. It's also an area that's fairly easy to prospect. If you're doing searches and you're not finding the right information, then that could be a really great prospect. I was talking with a partner the other day, and she needed to head to the grocery store in order to pick up something for meal planning for the next night. It was about 8:30 at night. She said, okay, cool. They're open until 10. She got there at 5 till 9 and they were packing up and closing the store because they hadn't updated their hours on their Google My Business page. Think about, this is the new way businesses are found, and it leads to results. If people see that you as a business have these filled out and accurate, you're more likely to be considered reputable. You're going to get more clicks to your website. You're 70% more likely to attract actual visits, and 50% more likely to purchase. The customers are going to purchase based on those efforts. So making sure if your hours have changed, if you're now offering curbside pickup or delivery as a business, are there relevant categories that need to be added because you may have changed your service offerings a little bit as a business? These are questions you can ask the businesses that you work with in order to find out if they're a good prospect. We also have the ability to do SEO audits to find out some of this information for you. So really considering, just these 4 tools can be huge and powerful for the businesses that you work with. But there are many more that may be able to help your local community. I think that, we just want to make sure that we give you guys as our media partners. And if you're not a media partner, you can contact us and let us know if you'd like more information about that. But we want to give you guys the most information possible because we know communicating with your advertisers is critical to the health of your own business. So keep in mind, shoppers are planning to buy early this year. And now is the time to focus on Q4 advertising for yourself, for your advertisers. Consumers have changed. They're really shifting towards value. So be a trusted advisor to those advertisers you work with and help them craft their message based off of that value, based off of them being online, based off of them rethinking brand loyalty and focusing on health.
And build your pipeline as a media organization by really working smarter and harder together. Even if you are remote, stay connected with your advertisers through all the different, technology that we have out there right now, and keep close to your staff. Keep as many different activities the same as possible for them, and stay close to them, over communicate with them. And most importantly, keep selling. You have a responsibility to your community and to businesses because you have the ability to really help them and get through this hard time.
And as you're focusing on those industries, you know, keep in mind the digital tools that you have available and what might be the right fit for that industry, for that particular company. We are here as a resource to give you information about what we are seeing work for those businesses today. It's an ever evolving test that we're always conducting. So reach out to us if you have any questions about what that might be. I'm going to open it up for questions. We're going to stay on for a few more minutes. We really appreciate you guys joining us today. And we're always here if you have further questions or need some support. I have a question from Andrew. How small can you make a fence on the geofencing? With our device ID technology, you can make it as small as the 4 walls of the building. You can include the parking lot or you can exclude the parking lot. If you know that the business or the area you want is on the northeast corner of a shopping center, then we can get that specific. So there's all kinds of great ways to utilize that product to find the right audience for your advertisers. Great question. Any other questions? Again, thank you guys so much for attending. And we are definitely here to help if you need anything else in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.